Hey guys, Chef Wu Can here today. How are you? Today is Tuesday, a beautiful day today. It's like 74 degrees. So I was out and about taking our dog, Milo, his little corgi, for a walk, getting some exercise. And so now we're pretty much settled in and our appetites are really, really hungry. So we're looking to make really good, nice fall meal. Now, today I'm going to introduce you to one of the easiest recipes that you could even think of making. Today we're going to make pepper steak, right? All you need is a pepper, an onion, and tender beef if you could. I know prices with beef are very high right now. So what you can do is take the tough cut of beef, and I'll teach you how to marinate it, and then maybe add a pinch, or maybe half a teaspoon of baking soda to it. Marinate it well, and it will break down the muscle. Obviously, the tough grades of beef, the top rounds, it's all muscle, and it's very tough. So we have a way that we can break the muscle up by using baking soda. All right? So today, three main ingredients: beef, pepper, and onions. We're going to do our traditional Chef Wucan's brown sauce and add a little slurry sauce, which is a combination of cornstarch and water to thicken it up, and a little coloring to give it a more appetizing look. All right? So this is what we're going to do. These are the ingredients. We have peppers, regular green peppers. We have an onion. We're going to use some fresh ginger. And we have fresh garlic. Okay. Now I prepared some already, and I'll show you. They're already prepared, but I want to show you how we do it. Okay. So with the garlic, we'll do a pretty simple Chef Wucan's way of crushing garlic. Lay it flat on the chopping board, the flat end of the cleaver, and smash it. You don't need a garlic presser. This is your garlic presser. All right, and that's it. Now, this is a cleaver. The cleaver is one piece of high carbon steel. This whole piece is one piece of steel. I love this because other cleavers that have a wood handle, I'm always afraid that once I cut anything I cut with, once I go back to chop, it flies off the handle. I don't like that kind of feeling, so I prefer to have the one piece of high carbon steel. All right, and back in the day, this is all the Chinese families had: one utensil. The pepper, cut into pieces. We're not going to slice them. We're going to make squares. And for, when it gets a little colder, this would be a perfect meal. Your delicious jasmine rice to make you full, and that's what you want. All right, and then the garlic, the onion, we'll cut it in half, and we'll cut it in thirds. One, two, three, and then we'll cut it in half. One, two, three, and we'll cut it in half. So all the vegetable is uniformly cut. And why do we want that? Because when you're stir frying, if it's evenly cut, then it will cook evenly. If you have one piece bigger than the other, then you have to wait for that one big piece to be cooked while the other one's already cooked already. It's going to create uneven cooking, and it's just going to ruin your rhythm. Now, I took the ginger, I cut it into nice slices like this. Now I'm piling it on. Okay. And I'll leave a little space. And then I'll hold it firmly down. And then we'll cut it. Now, fresh ginger is always good with everything. And most of my dishes, I do add fresh ginger and garlic. You're not going to get that in a restaurant. Okay. And here's the beef. So what we did with the beef was I used flank steak. And so if you can imagine the chopping board, where the grain is, it's going horizontal towards me. That's the muscles. So I cut them in slices, and then I cut it at an angle. And the more of an angle I'm cutting the beef at, the more surface area there is, which means that it will cook quicker and it will be much more tender. All right? So I added baking soda. The Arm & Ham baking soda. How much should I add? Well, here's a teaspoon. I added about, for this amount of beef, this amount of beef is like, I would say, about 2 pounds of beef. So I added about 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and I sprinkled it over the beef, the sliced beef. I let it sit there for like 20 minutes as I marinated it, okay, with the baking soda, because you want to get a nice even distribution of baking soda on all the meat. Leave it for 15 to 20 minutes in the refrigerator, right? Take it out. I recommend that you rinse it thoroughly, because what the baking soda will do, it will make the beef absorb, while it's breaking down the muscle, moisture. Okay? So make sure you rinse it really well, a couple of times. I rinse it around 3 or 4 times. Make sure you drain out all the water. And you got a nice tender beef cut. And so what you want to do is basically cut them up into nice morsels, because that's the way you want to eat it. All right. So there's no flavor added here. It's just the cornstarch, the baking soda that was added. Okay. You'll realize that after you start cooking it, you're going to get the same kind of consistency that you get at a takeout restaurant. And then many people have said, well, I don't know if they're using real beef. Well, basically, they're making the meat more tender. So obviously, it's going to feel very chewy, very tender. So tender, it may even feel fake. And I've heard that from many people. Many friends have asked me that. And I basically tell them. But flank steak is reasonably tender. But I have to say that lately, it hasn't been. And I don't really know exactly what the butchers are doing, or what they're feeding the cow. Because basically, what you're feeding a cow is reflective of the tenderness of the beef. Okay? So you add about a quarter teaspoon, about that much, of baking soda to the beef. Marinate it well. Let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes in the fridge. Take it out, rinse it, make sure you rinse it well, and make sure you drain it well to get a lot of the baking soda flavor away. You don't want that aftertaste. And then we'll start to marinate it. So you may say, well, what's the regular way of marinating? Well, the regular way is adding Shaoxing wine, about 2 tablespoons, some garlic powder, some white pepper, some soy sauce, white pepper, garlic powder, Shaoxing wine. And then we add about a tablespoon of cornstarch over it, and we'll marinate it. So I added an extra step by adding the baking soda because I want it to be very, very tender, right? You could do it 2 ways, right? Just the baking soda, and then you have to add the flavor later on, or do it the traditional way of adding the garlic powder, the white pepper, the Shaoxing wine, the soy sauce, and the cornstarch. If you do the latter part, you marinate it and you let it sit in the refrigerator. But if you're dealing with a tough cut of beef, the natural marinade may not do it. You might have to help it out a little bit. So you might have to add a little bit of baking soda, a quarter of a teaspoon, just to help it out a little bit. Because you don't want to grab the beef and then start chewing on it. It's not coming off. It's just an inconvenience. You want it to be nice and tender. When Chinese eat their food, they want things to be easy to chew and eat. They don't want to struggle, okay? That's very important. All right, so we have the beef. Now we'll marinate it. So we'll add about a quarter of a teaspoon of white pepper. And white pepper is a little bit more aromatic than black pepper. We'll add some garlic powder, about a quarter of a teaspoon. We'll add some Shaoxing wine, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. And we'll add some soy sauce, a quarter of a teaspoon. And then we'll put it all together marinated. Then we'll add a little bit of cornstarch. We'll add a quarter of a tablespoon. Okay? And then we'll just marinate it together. You'll notice that when you do add the baking soda, when you start cooking the meat, it will have the same consistency, or it should have the same consistency as in the takeout restaurant. It may look rubbery, but it's very, very tender. And you may not think it's real meat, but it really is. All right? So I have to say that baking soda is the catch-all of all many uses of it. And it's just really very, very, very amazing. Now you may say, well, in China, did they have it? Well, in China, they didn't have it. But once they came over, immigrated to the United States, they found out that you could use baking soda and had all these medicinal qualities to it. So we're going to go on the butane stove and heat up the wok. Now, I've changed a little bit of my routine. Instead of canola oil, I find out that it's very bad for you. So I stopped using canola oil. I switched to avocado oil or olive oil. Canola oil is not very good for you. So we heat up the wok first. This is a high carbon steel wok. This you can have at high temperatures and you won't ruin the surface. But as you use the high carbon steel wok, after every cooking, right, it's like a cast iron pan. You don't have to wash it so much. You just have to rinse it and then add a little oil to season it for the next use. And that's what we're going to do, okay? So after each use, it's going to create a non-stick surface, a natural non-stick surface. Whereas if you use a non-stick pan, that's a coating. And so if you work on high, it may burn off some of the coating. So I discourage you from putting it on high if you have a non-stick pan. But if you have a high carbon steel pan, I fully recommend it because you don't have to worry about losing any kind of surface. Add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Wait until it gets hot. Then we'll add the ginger and the garlic. And by doing this, you're basically fusing the flavors of the garlic and the ginger in the oil. You don't want to brown the garlic. That's one thing you don't want to do. Okay? Then we'll throw the onions and peppers in together. Now the secret with this dish, pepper steak, you don't want to overcook the vegetables. You want to have a little crunch there. So we always constantly stir fry. Right? So we're going to stir fry this for a little bit. We're going to take it out. Then we're going to start cooking the beef. And when the beef is ready, then we're going to add back the onions and the peppers. Okay? Now, as we're doing this, let's prepare the sauce, our brown sauce. Alright, our brown sauce will be oyster sauce, about 3 tablespoons of oyster sauce. Oyster sauce has oyster extract in it, but it adds flavor. We'll add a little bit of hoisin. A little salt and sweet is that perfect combination. We'll add a little bit of light soy sauce, about a teaspoon, and we'll add a little bit of dark soy sauce to give it a nice color. And we'll add Shaoxing wine. Wine is always good. If you don't have Shaoxing wine, I use 3 tablespoons of Shaoxing wine. You can use white wine, Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, and we'll just stir fry it once it's quick. Alright, you can smell the aroma of the ginger and the garlic. Always stir frying it. You want to get everything to be cooked evenly. Alright. Now, with my other videos, I always tell you that once you get an emerald green color, the vegetable is half cooked already. And when it's half cooked, it's still crunchy, it still has flavor, it's not well done and wilted. Okay? Now remember, we're going to add this back later after we cook the beef. So if we cook this too much, it's going to be kind of wilted, so we don't want that. Alright? So we'll take it out. Okay. So, wait the pan gets a little hot. Alright? Now we'll add some olive oil. Around 2 tablespoons. 1, 2. Okay, now we're going to add some of the slurry sauce that we created. Equal parts of cornstarch versus water. It does settle, so you got to mix it a little bit. And then we'll add it to the sauce. And then we'll combine the sauce together. Okay. All right. Oil's cooking. Let's circulate it a little bit. Switch around. Now we'll add the beef. So you're going to cook the beef. You're going to seal in that flavor from the marinade. You're going to get the tenderness of the beef. It's going to be a perfect dish. So it's very important that you get the wok heated first, then you add the olive oil, but allow the olive oil to get hot, okay? And you won't get much of a sticking action. Alright, so we have the beef. It's pretty much practically 3/4 cooked. Now we'll add the sauce. Saute it. We'll add a little water. You may like a little gravy. Okay. Now we'll add the veggies. Now the dark soy sauce is not exactly soy sauce. It's more of a coloring agent. So you want to get a nice, brownish color. Because if you know when you're cooking beef, you'll get that grayish brown color. Now with the beef, remember, it's always better to have it well done. It's going to be more tender. I know a lot of people want it to be medium rare, but not with stir frying. Okay. And you know what? It's ready. So what we're going to do is get a little rice. Start to heat. And there you have it. Pepper steak with jasmine rice. I would say it's pretty easy, right? You just cut up the vegetables, cut the meat thin, marinate it, cornstarch, soy sauce, white pepper, garlic pepper, Shaoxing wine. If you don't have Shaoxing wine, Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, right? I gave you the measurements. Let it sit, marinate it together. Then add about a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. Because I can tell you right now that the beef grades aren't that good right now. The beef industry was hit pretty hard. So the cheaper the quality of feed that they give to the cows, the cheaper and tougher the grade of meat is going to be. And if you do pay for good grade of beef, you're going to pay through the nose. All right, so just want to let you know about that. The less marbling, the tougher it is. The baking soda will break down the muscle. And then you make the brown sauce, oyster sauce, hoisin sauce, soy sauce, light soy sauce, right? A little pepper, white pepper, a little garlic powder if you want, a little Shaoxing wine. Stir it together. Add about a teaspoon of cornstarch solution, right? Dissolve it in water, equal parts of cornstarch to water. Add it to the sauce. Maybe add another 3 teaspoons of water if you don't want it that strong, okay? And that's it. So then you combine the vegetables, stir fry it until it's an emerald green color, because you don't want it to be overcooked, because you're going to be adding it again when the meat's combined together. So you don't want it to be wilted. You still want it to have a nice little crunch, right? Then you add the beef, take out the vegetables, the onions and the peppers. Add the beef, saute the beef, right? Until it's 3/4 of it done. Add your sauce together, right? Combine it together, right? So therefore then the meat's going to be 100% cooked. Then add the vegetables in, quick toss. In that sauce is the cornstarch, so it will thicken itself out, and you're done. And here it is. Okay, so I was going to use chopsticks, but I want to show you crunchy onion, peppers, crunchy, a piece of the beef with rice, very tender, very good. The beef with a little rice, perfect. The ginger, the garlic, that medley of flavors is delicious. It took no more than 5 minutes when you combine everything after preparation. Quick and easy, 1, 2, 3. Now, if you like this video, and I'm intentionally making these videos shorter, please subscribe. Press that button, subscribe, and then you'll be notified of any future videos that I come up with. And give me a thumbs up and a comment. All right? I owe it all to you guys, you know, in terms of my popularity. So, also, I have a website. It's chefwucan.com. I have an Etsy website, chefwucancollection.etsy.com. Within that website, I'll have a couple of condiments, spicy relish condiments, chili oil condiments, sesame honey, cinnamon honey condiments. I have vanilla Madagascar bean extract, vanilla extract, homemade. And obviously, with all my ingredients, I use the best that I can. I'm not going to substitute some cheap substitute and then try to sell it, and you're not going to get the quality, all right? And I look forward to working with you on another video. I don't know exactly which one's next. It's going to be another simple one. As we go into the colder months, it's going to be more the traditional Cantonese type and spicy to warm up your stomach, your tummies when you get home. And I want to thank you. So I appreciate you watching me. I want to say aloha. Thank you very much. Chef Wu can. Chef Wu can, you can too. So if I can do it, you can do it just as well. All right? Thank you very much. Aloha. Bye-bye.